you know, you know what I mean? It showed on my face. I was just very disinterested in dating. And it completely took over my attitude. So when you are, like I said, when you are in a place where you know you are interested in dating, you are in a place where you can be in a relationship, you're looking to be in a relationship, then make sure that your attitude reflects that. Be nice, be kind, don't be fake, but be nice. You know, there's no reason to be sour toward anyone. I would never want to be with someone who this they are. I'm sorry, I missed that one. You guys, I can't read and talk at the same time. Okay. But so be interested. Also, not only it's not only being nice, it's not only smiling. Um, be interested. Oh yeah, Kanye thinks he's Jesus. That's a whole other, yeah. That in and of itself is just a whole 5 hour Periscope, right? But be interested in what. So if you're in a dating situation, right? He's already gotten past the can I get your number stage. So you guys are dating, you go on your first, second date or whatever. Be interested in what he has to tell you. So the other day I was talking about how husbands have these things that they enjoy doing. Some of them like playing basketball all the time. Some of them like to watch video games or play video games. Some of them like to, I don't know, be on their computer games. You know, guys have things that they're interested in just as we do that are important to them that they value. So when we dismiss those things, when we say things like, "Can you get off the video game?" or "Why are you playing that again? That's so stupid." You know, when we say those kind of things, we're telling them that we're not interested in what they like and we don't care. Simply put, you know. So we're communicating the same thing when we're not asking them about them, when we're not being interested in what they have to say during the dating stage. So make sure when you're dating that you're asking them what, you know, I mean, you're not going to go through a list of 21 questions, but you know, when they mention like, oh yeah, I'm going to the Laker game tomorrow night with my brother or whatever, you know, just very simply and casually ask, you're like, oh, cool. I don't know. I'm trying to think, what can I talk about for basketball? I don't know. Did you see the last game? Or do you think Kobe's going to leave at the end of the year? Or, you know, whatever. And I'm not saying you have to put on this facade that you're some kind of expert at basketball. I'm not saying that you have to, you know, but be interested. Ask questions that will let him know that, oh, she does kind of want to know a little bit more about what I'm interested in too. You know, so be interested, smile, have a good attitude. And again, this is it when you're at a stage where you do feel like you are in a place where you want to be dating and you want to be in a relationship with someone. But you do have to be interested in what they're interested in. Yes, you should be. And I would say more so when you're married. You know, when you're dating, there's some things that you don't necessarily have to be interested in if you know. But when you're married, yeah, you definitely have to learn what those things are that your husband is interested in. I'm not saying you have to do them with him, but you have to take interest and you have to value them. So again, it's not even so much about being interested in that, right. It's not so much that you have to be interested to the point where you're playing with them and, you know, challenging them, but interested in that you are letting them know that because they value it, you value it. You value it. And it's important if it's important to them, it's important to you, you know. So back to dating, be interested, smile, and have a good attitude. And I would also advise, don't talk about people. You know, like when you're in a restaurant or whatever, you're sitting next to someone who, I don't know, looks a certain way. Don't talk about people. The reason I say that is because that shows that you're judgmental. Okay, and we all have a degree of being judgmental. You know, we all are even, you know, hypocritical. But I think when you're dating, my husband calls it you're being your representative. You know, your alter ego is the one that's dating, and then when you get married, your real person shows up. But no, when you're dating, it's good to always show the best of who you are. You know, and as you get to know the person, and you get to learn about them. You'll know when it's time to share other things that about yourself that, not that they're negative, not that they are show that you're a reflection, that they reflect on you as being a bad person, but you'll want to open up more. You know, just like you would do in an interview, you're not going to walk into a job interview and say, hey, yeah, so I quit my last job because my boss was rude and never let me, you know, go on lunch for longer than an hour. You know, you're not going to say those things. You're going to put your best foot forward, like Nick said, and you're going to give a good lasting impression. So the same is true when you're dating. So again, have a good attitude, smile, be interested. And so the next thing is, we as women need to have boundaries. We need to set boundaries, okay? And there's a long list of boundaries that we can set, but what I'm talking about is when it comes to being accessible, all right? So I have friends who are still in the dating scene. They're single, and I'll give you one example. One of my friends met a mutual friend, a male mutual friend. They kind of connected, sort of, you know. I didn't really see too much of a connection, but they say they connected. They exchanged information. Okay. So, you know, I asked her about him. I think it was about a week later or so, and she began to tell me that they had been talking on Facebook Messenger, right? Like my grandma always said, why would they buy the milk if they can get the cow for free? Yeah, you know, good old grandma always has those analogies. So she said that they had been talking on Facebook Messenger, you know, kind of on and off. And so she proceeded to show me their conversation. You know, so I'm looking, and it's a long, you know, scroll, right? I'm like, like The Price is Right, like, you know. So I'm reading this, and I'm noticing that. So the guy would say, "Hey, what's up? How are you doing? What are you doing today? What's your night look like?" Right? And her response would be, so mind you, so his response is like this, right? Her response is like, there's a whole big long, like, manuscript, you know, and it was consistent. Like, so he would ask another smaller question, and it was like this big whole long. Okay, first of all, I don't like to read long texts and messages and all that, right? So I know he must have been like, he must have been like, you know, he probably stopped reading at some point. Long story short, I ended up asking her, you know, like a month or so later, you know, how things were going, because I didn't want to be like all in her business, you know, and I don't like prying. So I asked her, you know, how things were going. She's like, oh, I haven't talked to him. You know, she said, I sent him a message a couple weeks ago, and he never responded. You know, so immediately my first thought was, oh, he was probably tired of like the long messages, you know. But so long story short, they stopped talking. My analysis of the situation was, and they also hadn't talked over the phone. Okay, so that's another mistake, and we'll get to there in a second. But my analysis of the situation, in my professional opinion, she was giving too much, too quick, giving too much, too quick. Guys, they want to know a lot, but they don't really want you to give them that much. They like a little bit of a chase. They want you to be a little bit, you know, to hold back. They may not act like it, but they do. If they are a Christian man looking for a woman that is going to be a good mother, a good wife, they don't want you to put everything all up front. They don't. They may act like it, like I said, but they don't. That is their way of finding out how much you will do, how much you'll allow them to get away with, and they keep all that information in the back of their head. You know, so the more you let them get away with, they're you know, making a mental log of that and filing it away. So they know what they can get away with, what you've probably let other people get away with, and they're going to remember that. So when it comes time for them to think about if this is somebody I want to marry, they're going to reach back into their file and say, well, she let me do this. And when I went over her house that time, we did that. And you know what I mean? So they may not feel too comfortable with bringing you home to mom. You know what I mean? So make sure that you're setting boundaries. Like I said yesterday, don't do Netflix and don't do, stuff at the house. Just don't. It just leaves, it's too much temptation, and it sends a bad message. Because if you're agreeing, even if you do this and you guys don't do anything, you've opened the door. You've let him know that you are okay with going to his house, the two of you alone, by yourselves, in the dark watching movies. So then he knows that potentially you'll allow him to get away with a little bit more. And although he's a Christian man, although he's, trying to walk the right path, he's a man. He's a man. So there are certain things that will pop into his head. He's still flesh, as we all are, and he's fighting it just like you are, but you want to make sure that you're putting yourself in positions that are safe, in positions that let him know you have boundaries, you have expectations, and there are certain things that you're not going to let him get away with. What about the Jews? What about the Jews? We love Jews too. I mean, I don't know what your question is. So, make sure that you're setting boundaries. Make sure that you are letting him know that there are certain things you're not going to just go with the okie doke. You have expectations that you need him to meet, and he should have expectations that he needs his potential wife to meet, right? I missed that one. Sorry, could you say that again? I missed your last little comment. But so make sure that you have boundaries. Make sure you're not overdoing it. I think people are trolling today, and I don't know how to change the setting. Oh, whatever. So, but make sure you're setting boundaries. Make sure that you are not overdoing it. You don't want to give too much up front, and I'm not talking about sexual relationships, because we all know, how we feel about that, but I'm talking about information just in general. No, you don't want to lie, obviously, but there are certain things that don't need to be all laid out on the table on the first date over dinner, Okay, I'll do that. So, right, don't tempt your Christian brothers. That was going to be the other thing. My next point. Let's just jump to my next point. My next point is you have to look the part. And it may sound superficial. It may sound like, ungodly. But you do have to look the part, you guys. First impressions go a long way. We talked about yesterday the fact that men are very visual. Men, first impressions, I'll even jump to the conclusion of saying that men know in the matter from the point of meeting you, in the matter of probably and talking to you, in the matter of probably about 15 minutes, whether or not they would consider pursuing you for anything more than a sexual relationship. Okay, and in this case, I'm talking about non-Christian men. Because hopefully our Christian brothers are not thinking of that, up front. But, a lot of men, they will know in the matter of minutes whether or not you're someone they would pursue beyond a sexual relationship. You know what I mean? And a good percentage of that, I'd say about 70 of that, is based on what you look like, how you present yourself. Again, going back to the example of job interviews, you're not going to walk into a job interview with your breasts hanging out. I've just begun dating a Christian woman, and I'm a non-Christian man. The broadcast caught my eye. Cool. Good, Jakeness. I'm glad you're here. So, when you go to a job interview, ladies, you're not going to walk in with your cleavage hanging out and, your skirt at the top of your bottom. You're going to go in applying for the job that you want. You're going to look the part of the job that you want, just like if you're someone that is looking to get married, you're looking to become a wife, dress like a wife. Dress like a wife. Dress like someone who is showing respect in her dress to her husband. Not only to her husband, but to her God. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that you're not out there looking